And this right here, my friends, is exactly why it is you never, ever, ever want a liberal or liberals handling foreign policy.
Our deepest, obviously our deepest condolences go out, and our heartfelt condolences go out to the families who lost three folks who are military folks, who are brave, who are always fighting, who are fighting on behalf of this administration, of the American people. Obviously, more importantly, we lost those souls.
Over the weekend, President Biden said he's ready to take action if Congress is serious about solving the border issue.
If that bill were the law today, I'd shut down the border right now and fix it quickly. And Congress needs to get it done.
Starting another fucking war.
30 years ago wasn't at the top of any game. He wasn't 30 years. And Obama has plenty to do with it. Obama has plenty to do with it. I call him Biden's boss, but he has plenty to do with it. Very, very, very serious. We are in very, very grave danger of having a World War III, and this will be a war. This will be a war of obliteration. This will not be a war with, I say, army tanks going back and forth shooting at each other. This is the real deal. And we have a man that he can't even walk off a stage.
Guys even caught Joy Reid having a bit of a, how do I say, a hot mic moment there. Many people have interpreted that as she's a little bit upset that the current administration has got us enthralled in another war or has started a war. But let me just go ahead and tell you this now. When I look at this entire situation in the Middle East, I look at this situation and think to myself, it looks to me like maybe our troops are being used as bait right now. Look, you guys just heard what Karine Jean-Pierre just said, okay? She just called 3 U.S. servicemen who died. By the way, here's the photo of these 3 servicemen, who, by the way, should be honored, 3 soldiers. By the way, none of these people are white. I mean, I hate to say it that way because, quite frankly, everything nowadays is racial. But you got to point this out to everybody because everybody now looks through the lens of race. That right there being liberals, not me, not people who are just good old-fashioned normal people, but libs. And then you also said they serve the administration. The administration, not the nation, the administration. Do you guys see exactly how out of touch these people are? Do you see exactly how it is that liberals view our troops? Do you guys see this? Now, even Obama, when he was in office, he was not this bad, but obviously he was pretty daggone bad. To say that the men and women who died served the administration and then called them folks and not called them soldiers or sailors or Marines or airmen or Coast Guardsmen or even Space Force members, but to call them folks is absolutely and utterly, and I mean despicable. But here's something else, too. I'm showing you guys another tweet. This right here is Eric Braeden. If you guys know who Eric Braeden is, chances are your grandma helped raise you growing up. Same thing happened with me. Eric Braeden is the guy who plays Victor Newman on the television show, long-running show, Young and the Restless. So therefore, you obviously know who Eric Braeden is. If you know who that show is, you know that he's Victor Newman. Now, why am I talking about Victor Newman? Well, look at this tweet. Iraq. Okay, you misspelled Iraq, and our troops that got killed, the 3 servicemen, they didn't die in Iraq, they died in Jordan. That shows you exactly how out of touch most people are about this situation. Victor, by the way, or Eric Braeden, is also very, very much on the left as far as being an anti-Trumper. He's from Germany, and therefore you probably think to yourself, okay, maybe he understands exactly what happened. I'm pretty sure that he does. He's all got automatic fear of anything pro-one nation. So I'm not going to beat him up for that or anything like that. I'm just saying as far as how out of touch these people are. And you got to ask yourself a question. Why is it that we're in this situation, and where exactly are we going as a result of this? Well, let's take a look at this first news report. It came last Sunday, and then we'll talk about the actual response and why it is that these people have completely bungled a situation that, quite frankly, should not have been bungled in the first place. And, of course, we got to talk about where it is that we're going after that. Let's go ahead and roll this.
Thanks for joining us. Tonight, President Biden, as you just heard, says the United States, quote, shall respond following a deadly drone attack on American troops. He blames an Iran-backed militia for the overnight strike. It happened at a remote base in Jordan near the Iraq-Syria borders, underscoring the spreading violence in the Middle East. At least 3 American service members were killed. More than 30 others were wounded, some of them seriously. CBS News Chief National Security Correspondent David Martin has the very latest tonight from the Pentagon. David, good evening.
U.S. officials say the troops manning the outpost on the Jordanian side of the border with Syria had little warning of the incoming drone. Many of the dead and wounded were still in their barracks when it hit. The outpost, known as Tower 22, provides support to U.S. Special Operations Forces operating inside Syria, where they are under constant threat of attack. But until now, Tower 22 had not been attacked. President Biden blamed it on Iranian-backed militias and vowed to retaliate.
We lost 3 brave souls in an attack on one of our bases, and we shall respond.
It was the U.S. military's worst loss of life to enemy action since the fall of Afghanistan, and the first since Israel's war with Hamas set off a drumbeat of more than 160 attacks against U.S. troop locations in Iraq and Syria. Scores of troops suffered concussions in the previous attacks, but there had been only one serious injury. Now that the attacks have turned deadly, the Biden administration will be under pressure to launch much more damaging airstrikes against targets in Iraq and Syria.
And the Biden administration would have you believe that this photo of Joe, of course, is actually real and that he's some warrior president who's about to strike back. Why in the world, and this right here is what I think is really hilarious, because many people are actually theorizing that the Biden administration, what they plan, and by the way, he's on vacation, or he's going on vacation this weekend again. Many people are theorizing that what he's going to do is hit the Iranian Navy, because it was obviously Iran, or those who malicious backed by Iran, that hit us and killed 3 of our men and wounded. And I mean, and we'll get to this here in a second, what exactly happened there. But all these people are now suggesting that he hit the Iranian Navy. Iran doesn't really have much of a navy to hit, and I'm not calling for war, even though there's obviously neocons out there saying that you need to go to war here. The thing is this right here. If you just fire a couple of missiles, a couple of cruise missiles, a couple of rockets at somebody and actually take out a few targets, chances are this entire thing will stop. But then again, though, knowing Biden, he'll probably do like Bill Clinton and fire a cruise missile through a telephone booth and it'll hit a camel in the ass and not really do anything. The thing is this right here. Peace through strength. You win by staying strong. Now, look. There was an incident that occurred when Trump was in office where, Iran bombed our troops, and then Trump had this major attack plan. Then he pulled back on it. And then all of a sudden, he threw that attack out there a week and a half to 2 weeks later. We didn't hear anything from Iran after that any damn more. Same thing happened with Syria. We didn't hear a single thing with Syria after that. The minute he got into office, he dropped the Moab on Afghanistan. We didn't hear anything out of Afghanistan, and we bombed the hell out of ISIS, so we didn't hear anything out of these people. But yes, somehow the ISIS has returned. Did you think that maybe our foreign policy, our extremely weak leader, did you ever think that maybe he is incompetent, and the fact that he has shown this this inability to defend our troops on the ground, do you think that maybe this right here is the reason why it is that our enemies are attacking us? Did you think about that? Did you think that maybe his weakness and his incompetence is the reason why it is that we're losing men overseas? Now, I'm not saying you got to go to war. I'm not saying you got to put boots on the ground. But, of course, you've got people out there who, quite frankly, are a little bit upset about the possibility of even firing a cruise missile at a target, which, by the way, Iran's military is not strong enough to take the United States. Trust me. All you have to do is just do some proper corrective measures or proper behavioral corrective measures, meaning just fire a couple of cruise missiles in the area and these people will stop. But, of course, if you say that, people will automatically assume that you're a warmonger. Don't worry, we'll be talking more about that in my video that's going to be coming out for Gear Issue 33 on why it is nobody wants to join. Because obviously there are people who are also on the right as well who, for whatever reason, have lost their balls because they continue to think that every time somebody responds back, we're going to war when it's simply nothing more than a behavioral corrective measure. Let's talk just a little bit more about how it is that this current establishment is totally and utterly out of touch with those who actually serve this nation.
Today's attack, the first deadly one on U.S. forces in the Middle East since Israel's war against Hamas began on October 7th. In that time, Iranian proxy groups have attacked our forces in the region at least 160 times. Retired U.S. Navy Captain Chuck Nash joins us now. And Captain Nash, if you could, first of all, I want to start here because it's my understanding that some of the injured troops from last night's attack were medevaced to Landstuhl in Germany. Give us an idea of what is going on logistically to get our service members to less vulnerable positions in the Middle East.
Well, we've got over 2,000 service personnel stationed in Jordan. Most of them are at an air base down close to Amman. This attack took place out on what we'll call the frontier. But the folks at the air base are there mostly for logistics. So any of the wounded would be taken to that air base and then flown to Landstuhl, which is a magnificent hospital, and they specialize in critical casualty care. So that's the first best place to go. After that, once the patients are stable, they'll probably be flown to the National Military Medical Center at Walter Reed Bethesda.
Okay, thank you. Well, I want to now take a look at a statement. In his statement released this afternoon, Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin expressed outrage and said he is deeply saddened by the deaths of 3 of our service members and the wounding of other American troops.
Secretary I played that 2-minute bit for you guys, so that way you guys could kind of hear everything. But I really want you guys to pay very close attention to the very end. Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin. Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin was recently, somehow or another, we did not know this, but he was recently hospitalized, cancer treatment. I could feel for him, obviously, but still at the same time, the President of the United States did not even know where he was. Now, I'm pretty sure somebody was in charge. But still, though, the American people need to kind of know that somebody's on the case. Somebody's actually, in charge. Somebody's actually overseeing. Somebody's actually doing something. Somebody's actually looking into a situation. Somebody's actually overseeing the entire situation, overseeing the entire area. Do you ever think that maybe that right there is another reason why it is that Iran and other nations are actually hitting our troops right now? I mean, what was it? The Houthi rebels, they attacked us recently. Do you think maybe that right there is the case? Did you think maybe that Joe Biden's disastrous pullout in Afghanistan, which cost us 13 servicemen, 11 Marines, a corpsman, and a soldier, do you think that maybe that right there's a reason why it is that they view our troops as nothing more than cannon fodder at this moment in time? I mean, just listen to this.
And where? I believe there was an attack earlier today. I don't have the exact location. We can get you that. I don't want to speculate, but we can get you that information after.
What's the total number of attacks now since October and the total number of injuries?
Yeah, just a sec here. So from October 17th to January 29th, we are tracking approximately 165 attacks. That's 66 in Iraq, 98 in Syria, and of course, the one yesterday in Jordan. Oh, and I'm sorry, and on injuries, I am tracking approximately...
Really quick, I want to go ahead and say this before we go any further. Seeing that lady there who, quite frankly, does not know what the actual facts and figures are, those press conferences are actually watched by our enemies. Let me give you an example of what I mean. Osama bin Laden, it was found out later on after he died that his favorite, and I mean his actual favorite television anchor was Keith Olbermann. Keith Olbermann and MSNBC went out of his way to attack the United States every day, conservatives, politicians, what the troops were doing. He is probably, and really, he was too far gone for MSNBC. Let that set in. This spokeswoman for the Pentagon, number one, she didn't even have the facts with her at the time, which, by the way, you have to have going into a press conference. Number two, to go on top of this, not only did said person not have all the facts on her at the time, but did you hear that number? 80. 80. And then you see the headline at the top that over 160 or over 100 somebody have been wounded since Biden has been in office. I understand somebody's going to come in the comments and say, well, this is what look, I was one of the troops, still at heart, still very much am one of the troops. We're not cannon fodder, okay? We're not here to just die for no reason, okay? That's the truth. The United States of America, for the most part, has to supply the entire world. And why it is that I would love to downsize that drastically, we're not going to have that happen at this moment in time under this current administration. Fact of the matter is that other nations rely on this country constantly for everything, to the point to where we literally have to wipe rear ends. That is how bad the situation is. I hear people talk about their free health care in Europe, and I ask them, well, how much money are you getting from the United States in subsidies to help out with your military and everything else? And then you look at their populations, and they just laugh it off like it's nothing. These people are arrogant. Me personally, I would love not to give money to these people and say there's a military base there. We're going to support that there. If you don't like it, you can piss off. We can bomb you. That right there is what I personally would like to do. But of course, I'd be called a warmonger for saying that. Fact of the matter is, the world has gotten way too disrespectful and way too arrogant towards the United States. And it only gets worse when you have a liberal like Joe Biden in office. It was this way when Obama was in office. It was nowhere this bad, as incompetent as he was under Bush. It definitely was not as bad when Trump was in office. Even Bill Clinton, it was not as bad when he was in office. Fact of the matter is, this right here is the main reason why it is you do not allow liberals who believe that the world thinks like them, to run this nation. That right there is the reason why you don't let them do this, because our troops then get used as cannon fire. But what is our response going to be?
The case that the American people need to prepare themselves for more deaths, for more wounded American service members at the hands of Iran and Iranian proxies?
Well, as we've said, and will continue to be the case, we will take necessary action to protect our U.S. forces, no matter where they're serving around the world. I'm not going to telegraph or forecast any potential response from the United States because of this attack, other than to say there will be a response, and this kind of action will not be tolerated. You know, U.S. forces are in this region for one reason only, and that is to focus on the lasting defeat of ISIS. And so, again, we will do whatever we need to do to protect our forces going forward, but certainly, at the end of the day, we are not looking to engage in a wider conflict, merely to ensure regional security and stability.
Does the administration think proportional attacks will change the situation in the Middle East?
Well, again, you know, what we're going to do is we will take deliberate, appropriate action. Our focus here is not to broaden a conflict from the very beginning. We've been very focused on ensuring that the situation in Israel does not broaden into a wider regional conflict. Unfortunately, what you have here are Iranian proxy groups that are exploiting the situation and conducting these types of illegal attacks against forces that are in the region to actually preserve peace and stability.
It's probably not even going to be regional. You see, a lot of people right now are scared to death. And I mean, they are scared to death and I mean this, they are scared to death that we're going to be going into another war. Some people have tried to say that if we fight Iran, we would lose, when that's not exactly the case. We would actually destroy Iran. We've actually had our troops in that area for a long time. I disagree with us having that. As a matter of fact, during my first deployment into Iraq this is towards the end of 2004, the rumor was we were going into Iran then. Truth be told is Iraq and Afghanistan obviously border Iran. So maybe this is something that the administration, so something our establishment has been wanting to do from the very start. We've never actually done it. But I don't think that's going to occur because Iran, for the most part, is an extremely mountainous nation. But still, at the same time, you could definitely throw some rockets at these people, fire some cruise missiles, drop a Moab, and these people would obviously get the point. Now, the thing about the Iran nuclear deal, that right there, of course, will be another, and I mean this right here, will be another conversation for another date. Part of the reason why it is I included former President Trump in that beginning monologue for about 30 seconds there is so that way you guys could see that once again, he was in fact correct. He once again was right. This entire situation has gone to hell since Joe Biden has been in office. I remember the Colonial Pipeline incident where Biden then goes to Russia and says, you can't attack these 6 nations. And then what does Putin do? A cyber attack on us. Next thing you know, our gas prices are through the roof. And then after that we got a massive gas shortage. But of course, people have short memories. You had the disastrous Afghanistan pullout. And what happens? Now people think the Biden administration is extremely weak. And guess what? They're correct. They are weak, but our troops are being forced to suffer as a result of this. Then when you add in what I'm showing you now here in the B-roll footage, this right here would tell you right off the bat that most of the world's militaries, they think the United States is an absolute joke, okay? I will speak more about this in my video on why nobody wants to join, which will be on Gear Issue 33. I'll leave a link in the description box of this video, probably one of my movie reviews, so that way you guys can check that out. And still at the same time, also, so that way you guys can subscribe. But still, nobody around the world right now respects this current military, and they definitely don't respect the current leadership. Not to mention the fact that when you have stuff like this being shown to the Middle East, and they already feel a certain way about a certain set of lifestyle, it's going to make the anger that they have for the quote-unquote infidel burn a lot brighter. Joe Biden loves to just pound his chest and run his mouth and talk all kinds of crap. At the end of the day, he looks like nothing more than just an angrier version of Jimmy Carter. This right here is called the feelings over facts crowd. These people are not very bright. They never have been bright. They're extremely incompetent, and they're also weak. And to go and look here, let me say something right quick. If you're competent and you're weak at the same time, which is very, very rare, you can get away with that because then you could just pretend to be smart, and probably nobody will touch you. But this guy is weak, feckless, and he runs his mouth a lot. Okay? I just figured I'd throw that out there, that he is this is an extremely weak president, extremely weak person. And as far as response is concerned, everybody's talking about, will it be World War III? You're not going to World War III right now. And let me explain the reason why it is. This right here is not a situation where a president, if they decide to take us to war, will get reelected. Let's go through our past really quick. What happens? Okay, let's talk about what happens. And this right is going to be where I close the video out. Many people believe the real reason why this entire thing is happening is because Joe Biden wants a war because there's a guarantee his reelection. Well, let's go through our history really quick of presidents that got reelected or got elected during a time of war. Let's start with the 20th century. Actually, let's go back a little bit further. Spanish-American War. Spanish-American War was already closed out before, so it was already pretty much over with by the time that McKinley had actually gotten reelected. Of course, his eventual VP was Teddy Roosevelt, but still at the same time, though, it didn't really matter. Woodrow Wilson. Well, Woodrow Wilson campaigned on not going to war, and we weren't at war when he got reelected in 1916. We didn't actually enter the war until after he got reelected. Oh, wait, that's right, FDR. Well, FDR, he got reelected in 1940 before the U.S. even got involved in World War II fully. So, no, that doesn't count either. 1948. Well, Harry Truman, there was no war going on, except what was going on in Israel, which was already, how do I say this? It was already done. And that way there wasn't a global conflict or even a U.S. war. Johnson, 1964. Well, Vietnam didn't officially kick off for the U.S. until after he got elected, and he didn't seek re-election. Nixon actually got a ceasefire in 72. Okay, but the war was already going on. 2004, George W. Bush. Most of Iraq was pretty much over with by the time he got reelected. We were still there, yeah, but for the most part, the initial fighting was over with. So no, wars don't get presidents reelected. They don't. Normally, if a war is basically being worked out or finished off, that right there could be something that might get them elected or reelected. But this administration is weak and stupid. Everything they touch completely turns to crap. So no, I don't think that Joe Biden would be starting a war to get reelected. Or he may think he is, but it would not. And I'm not really worried about that anyways. I'm concerned more about the troops. But of course, people out there think he's trying to start a war to get people to get himself reelected. The American people were divided during COVID because the mainstream media divided the nation, and I already felt the nation was going to be divided. They've been working on dividing the nation for years. They were working on dividing the nation after Obama got elected. They've been dividing it ever since. So no, I don't expect the nation to just suddenly just come together over this. What's happening right now is a result of this guy, this president's extreme weak incompetence, okay? This is what it is, in his bluster. That right there is what's going on here, and he is using our troops as bait. That right there is what's going on in this case. And this right here, my friends, is why you never allow liberals to handle foreign policy. They're not good at it. They don't know what the hell it's like to actually be strong. They don't know what the hell it's actually like to even get into a fist fight. If they can't do that, then what the hell makes you think they can handle people like Putin or Xi or even the mullahs in the Middle East? With that right there being said, guys, please leave your thoughts in the comment section. I want to hear what you guys have got to say. Please hit the like button, subscribe, share the video. We got some crazy videos coming out this weekend. We're going to be talking about the OnlyFans pipeline. We're going to be talking about the future of religion as far as a certain generation in the country. And of course, there's this little controversy that's going on with members of the squad suddenly being peeled off. We'll talk more about that this weekend. So make sure you guys please hit the like button, subscribe, share the video. Please hit the notifications bell. Please leave your thoughts in the comment section. I'll see you guys later.